Welcome everyone to this very special interview. My name is Dr. Suryadeep, and today we are going to interact with a legend. You see, IT personally for me is a very boring field. You go to the office, you work, you come back. You keep doing this over a period of time, you are bound to get promoted and grow in your career. You'll have the big house, the big cars and whatnot. There are very few people in the IT space who are able to revolutionize the game. Now, one of the fundamental skills that is required in order to excel in the IT industry in particular, having been worked there for a couple of months, has to be sales. But let's face it, whether we are in school, whether we are in college, even in our professional life, this is the only skill that we are not taught at all. There is no curriculum. There are no teachers. We are just expected to learn it through experience. Now, what if I told you that we've got the experience himself, a soul who personifies not just the word experience, but the way in which he has transcended from one aspect, one area of the IT space, all the way as an employee and right now as a world-class, world-renowned trainer and coach. I call him my sales geek. He is the author of this book, which I personally feel has to be a Bible when it comes to aspirants and people who are into sales and having made sales their career. With a huge round of applause, let's welcome Devesh sir is in the house. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Thank you, Dr. Surya, for such a great introduction. I'm really spellbound. Thank you so much, and I look forward to have this exciting discussion with you. I'm sure that there would be a lot of things which you will cover in your question, and I'm like super excited to see that how I'm able to respond to it, and hope that your viewers are getting some value out of it. So thank you for inviting me for the show.
It's a dream come true moment for me, sir, honestly, because I remember pestering you for so long. Sir, I need that autographed copy of your book. And of course, finally, when I received it, it feels so magical, just immersing ourselves through the content. So my very first question would be, what made you write this book in the first place? I mean, there are quite a lot of books that are available out there when it comes to understanding sales, the fundamentals of sales and whatnot. But what makes build your sales muscle so unique? What made you write this?
Yeah, so I think it was during COVID that we had a lot of time, right? The travel was almost stopped, and there was a lot of time to reflect. And at that point of time, I was reading few of the sales books which were there, and I found that all those books are basically written by some of the people who are in the Western countries, right? There are good concepts which are there, and there are certain examples which are more relatable for that part of the world, right? And I thought that yes, there are so many concepts which are there which we apply in this part of the world in a different manner, right? And that's where it gave me a thought that okay, why not write a book which basically not only help you to unfold that concepts which are there in your own way, and build up your own storyline which is based on your own experience, right? So that becomes very important, that how you can really relate that from your own experience point of view. And that was something which basically we started working on, and it just happened so that first we wrote in English, and then we have just launched the Hindi version of it. And I hope that people who read it in the Hindi belt find it also very useful, because this is very much relatable from an Indian context point of view. And the second was in terms of that sales never came easy for me in my initial years, right? Because I was very introvert. And that's where I have to really, as you said correctly, that there is no school which teaches you sales, right? There are certain aspects of marketing which would be there in MBA, certain concepts of sales which would be there, but how you actually need to perform, how you need to really engage with the customer or a client or a prospect, that's something what goes inside you, right? It's so important that you should be aware, that self-awareness of your own emotions. That's something which took me so long to really understand. And that's where I thought a sizable portion of my book talks about how you create that sales success mindset, right? So that's something which is a key component of my book.
Love that, sir. I'm reminded of two very interesting quotes. First is by Gary Vee. We all know him as one of the geeks when it comes to sales and marketing. He says that every human being on this planet, irrespective of their age, has a sales muscle in them. Ask a baby, tell a baby no when baby wants a chocolate.
Yeah,
You'll see
and
dance
will cry.
moves like never before. They know how to sell you with the perspective of getting them the chocolate. And the second thing is the mindset that you mentioned about. Of course, in your book, you dive way too deep into it. It's all about like a switch. At least when I see you, when you're conducting training sessions or actually selling maybe a product, maybe a training program or whatever, what I felt is it's more of related to the way you combine selling to serving. And again, it's a switch, it's a muscle that you obviously train us all in the book. And the way you answer this, it just brings us perfectly to the second question, which is this is 2024. And we all know with the AI revolution coming in, chat GPT evolving in this manner, all these different AI companies bringing in all these different things where a lot of the stuff is pretty much automated. We can design sales scripts, we can design landing page scripts, we can even ask ChatGPT to give us exactly who is our target market, how to speak with them. Amidst
Mhm.
all these digital revolutions, of course, for you, I'm sure you've seen so much more of this revolution, internet revolution, far more than what we have. Why do you feel that sales is the number one skill, even today in 2024, with all the AI revolution that is happening?
Hmm. Yeah, actually, Suryadeep, you started with that example where you said that when a baby is crying, right? He's himself trying to sell. He's trying to persuade, right? He's trying in a way to negotiate with his mother or father in terms of that what he is looking for. So it's an inherent skill, right? So it's not going anywhere, and probably everyone is a salesperson in this world. We try to negotiate. My kids would try to negotiate with me if they have to go somewhere. They will. It happens so effortlessly everywhere that it's happening. And also, if you look from a very professional point of view, I think sales is the only earning department of any business, right? There's nothing else. No one else on. Only the one who brings money is the sales department. Rest all are trying to help, support, build product, engineering, whatever is there. It's all there, which we need for sure. But it's only one department which is there. So it's not going anywhere, whatever type of technology comes in. Now, the second part is AI is definitely which is there, which is actually enhancing the way a salesperson can perform its activity. So it's there as something which is truly supporting to become a, to make you better, right? So you have to look from that point of view. But what it means that if it's helping you to become better, it's now your own responsibility that how you notch up few levels up so that you can really be smarter in that whole community, because there would be rest of the people who will be taking help of that. And if you don't really take or really use it to your own benefit, you will be behind. So that's very important, that use AI for the benefit of becoming a better salesperson, because there are few things which AI can never replace, right? One of the things which I've spoken in my book is about the invisible R, where I talked about two things: emotional intelligence and trust, right? Uh, what I think AI can help you to get certain data insights which could be there. But when you are actually in front of a customer, you know that how you can understand their emotions, right? You know that how you can embrace embrace in a way which basically a response which actually satisfy them, right? Or how you can foster a better connection with them, better network with them, right? Or establishing trust. All these things AI can't do. They can give you certain suggestions which could be there. Or if you talk about problem solving is a key skill in sales, right? Because every customer has a different problem. You need to really look upon that. While most of the solution may be common, but there would be that 50, 15, 20% of it which needs to be customized from the need of that individual person. So that's something, again, it's not something which AI would be able, it will again help you to give you a template, right? But eventually that customization which really clicks the mind, the emotional intelligence part which comes, would be there for you as a salesperson to deliver. And that makes you as one of the best skills you need to have. So even for that matter, say negotiation or persuasion, what we were talking about, again, negotiation, it's all about, you need to create a win-win situation, right? It's all about a positive sum outcome than a net zero outcome. It has to be positive sum. So that's where it's all about. You have to really understand, you have to have that art of listening to really understand, and on that basis you need to deliver. So I think these are some of the skills. I don't think there is any technology which can really make magic there. They can really give you some supporting data insights, which could be there, help you to create a template, help you to get ready. But when you are in front of the customer, it is you who have to create that magic. It is you who have to bring that invisible art within you so that you can really make that impact. So yes, what I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Love this. And in fact, you've covered a very big chunk of one of the questions that I specifically had for Invisible R itself, emotional intelligence and
Okay.
trust. I'm going to ask a little controversial question right now, and feel free to ignore this question if you want to. Do you feel
Mhm.
that the schools and colleges needs to include sales as a subject, as a core subject, right from the start so that everybody gets at least acquainted with the skill?
Absolutely. I think it's very important. Sales is something which basically helps you to become a better communicator. It helps you to become a someone who can persuade. It helps you to create an outcome based perspective, right? So these are few things which are so important for you. You go in any type of industry, these are few things which you will always want. Communication, right? It's all about where you have to engage with your teams. There would be team collaboration. There would be certain uh, thoughts which you need to really negotiate with your stakeholders, which would be there. So so communication doesn't go, persuasion doesn't go. And the beauty of getting into sales is that, because you get into that experience of closing something, there is an art of closing which actually you get into. So that's where it becomes an outcome based communication which is there, that how you can really channel everything and whatever is required from different teams, different people who can help and support you to really close things. And that's something which we require, because ultimately what anyone requires, it's required that you need to really do your numbers or achieve your business goals which are there, and that's the only way you can do that. So definitely I think sales mandatory. If I ever become a minister in the government of India, definitely that's something which I will make sure that it becomes
In the
it
next
becomes part of
elections,
the curriculum.
let's all, I would encourage all our listeners and followers to combine together and put Devesh sir out there in front. So that would be a huge thing. Okay, beautiful. While you were answering this question, sir, there was just this thought that was popping on in my mind. Fortunately, I've had one of the questions also related to this. Every single time we hear the word sales, our mind, at least in traditional India, it goes back to those days when a person would knock, ma'am, do you need a vacuum cleaner? Do you need those bottles or whatever? The door-to-door salesman. Now, having grown up with that whole thing, what we used to do is just slam the door on their face until a point of time when, let's say, my mom herself had to start that to sustain the family when my dad turned bankrupt. Now, that's the mindset that we have every single time we hear the word sales. So, uh, how do you feel we can change the mindset from this traditional door-to-door selling to thinking of sales as a life-altering skill and literally an asset that's going to help us grow in our life and also serve, like you mentioned, to whichever organization either we are a part of or planning to join? Wanted to know your views on this, sir.
Great question, Surya. I think, actually, you made me remember my own early days because way back in 99, 2000, when I started my career, at that point of time, basically, we had to go virtually for lead generation, doing cold calls, right? So that was the way it used to happen. And those were really difficult and tough times because you were not taught anything, right? So you have to go into any office and knock the doors, and sometimes they will be condescending to you in terms of not even responding, right? And it was really tough times because at some places it was written as a salespeople are not allowed, right? So that those types of uh, stickers were there outside the organization, and you felt very bad, right? That's how people are trying to react to you. But I think uh, one over a period of time, with all these digital tools which have come, a lot of things have become much more easy, right? Because now the qualification of the leads can be done much easier in all digital format, right? Because there are so many ways you can figure out what are the inbounds which are coming, who is coming to your website, who are trying to download few things. So those details can be captured. You can really decide on in terms of that which are the target segment where you have to really focus on, and then send mails, connect on LinkedIn. All those things could happen, and then over a period of time, with that whole bunch of organic inorganic way you are creating those leads, based on that, then you can actually qualify and then talk to those who are basically qualified. So basically, there is a genuine interest which you have already identified, and then it's happening. So I think, thanks to technology, that it has made it much easier in terms of that how you can really leverage these digital tools to be more effective, and in that process, actually, that whole mental a block which has been created over a period of time, that sales is such a skill where you feel sometimes ashamed to do this, that probably that whole barriers can come down drastically. So that's number one. But apart from that, I think, as we were discussing in our earlier question, this is definitely a life changing skill because it helps you. Again, I'm going back, you become a better communicator, right? There is no other way or no other industry or job which will help you to become as better. Probably there could be legal folks who could be there, right? But the in that also, there is no persuasion. It's like based on certain clauses of legalities which you try to work. But here the persuasion where it's not really known whether customer would take your product or solutions or services. So some of these qualities which are there, the ability to become a much better communicator, ability to look on that how you can really create an outcome based solution or outcome which is outcome led discussions which are there, right? So some of these skills which we need to look upon that they are key to our success, and once we start looking them as key to our success, then I'm sure that we can see that there is a lot of change which would happen. And apart from that, what I would say that I think sales also helps you to build relationships, right? And and that's something, if you can really think sales as something which is a long term asset, where it's not about transaction, but it's all about goals where you can continuously help to solve the evolving problems of the customer over the duration of time which will continue to happen. So that's something which really makes it very unique, because in that way you are not only cultivating that relationship with, but you're cultivating that relationship with the all trust and trust and credibility. So that's again something which actually is very unique, which comes with sales.
You've taken this whole uh, the the depth of this answer to a whole new level, sir. And I just cannot help myself but try to nudge a little bit more, a little deeper. Again, because you mentioned about those days when the only thing you had was those in US they called yellow sheets. Here you have these sheets and you just have to cold call and stuff
Right.
or visit offices. Of course, that is something that this particular generation will probably not get to experience thanks to technology. But I am really very curious to know, having been through that entire episode, what were your biggest learnings? I'm sure it was a pretty decent chunk of your life. Like you mentioned, it's been very, very tough days. What were those
10 years.
learnings that you feel, yeah, what would be those nuggets, those golden nuggets, which none of our generation can experience, or the generation later as well, that you feel it's important for us to at least be aware of, so that we can at least be grateful that, okay, we don't have to go through all of that. Yet we missed out on those core learnings, which even if we try to, we can't find that out. So yeah, really want to know that, sir.
So I think one of the uh, important thing is all about knowing yourself, right? As an individual, what type of personality you have, right? And that was one of the, say, a biggest conflict with which I remained for almost 10 odd years, right? Because uh, I was a pretty introvert person, and I came from a purely a Hindi speaking belts of Uttar Pradesh, and I didn't have a great English communication skills, and I used to really struggle there. So all those fears were so much within me, right? And uh, that was really one of the things which actually had created a lot of those conflict, that there are people around you who are so good, they're assertive, they're extrovert, they can just go and talk so freely with some of the senior, say, the vice presidents of the companies or the general managers of the company. Here you have to just keep yourself pumping up, okay, how you can speak, and that's creating an additional layer of stress which is there. So I think that's something which basically we need to be very clear that what type of personality we have. And that's actually, when I went through few of the personality assessment tests after 10 years when I started, then it came out that, okay, this is fine, you are like an introvert person, but that doesn't make any difference, because introvert persons can also be very good in sales, because they can be pushy, they can really be understanding that how you can deliver things for the customer. So there could be a lot of assets which would be there. So that stress continued for a long period of time. And that's where I've tried to cover that in my book, that my own uh, these fears, which I call it as 3F, which is fear, failure, and forgetfulness, which basically needs to be overcome. And it happens when I say fear, it's all about one, definitely you have to practice, you have to overcome and come out of your comfort zone to operate into your fear zone, so that you are continuously learning in terms of to overcome that. But once you are more aware about your emotions, then you can negotiate with those, right? And that would help. The second piece is in terms of sales is all about failure, right? It's uh, again, I'm just referring to my book where I have spoken about law of wasted efforts, right? It, you talk about any species, right? No one is, maybe they are 20% successful, 30%. A tiger, if he is hunting, he may be 20-25% successful. Or there's so many examples which are there, but we think that if we are 20-25% successful, it's a failure, which is not the case. So we need to just think opposite, that okay, if there are wasted efforts, basically there is a lot to learn from that, and that may lead to a delayed success for you, but success would be there for you. So that's a very important lesson. And sales teaches you, because out of 10 opportunities which you will try to engage with, you may close one or two, not more than that, right? So that's like 9% failure, 90% failure, and 10% success. So that's something which you need to overcome, right? And then forgetfulness is an outcome of, because when you live in that fear and failure zone, you tend to just forget. You, when you're sitting in front of the customer, and you're because you are in that stress, so you're not asking the right questions, and you're not putting that afford to listen him patiently, because you are continuously thinking that okay, what next I have to ask from him, what I am thinking around that. So you, in that whole process, forget lot many things where you can actually, if can be calm and composed, you could have done better. So my recommendation would be that basically start observing yourself much more, have that awareness about your own emotions, and that would help you over a period of time, that how you can really control your emotions and regulate your emotions. It's not about just controlling, but regulating it or channelizing it in the best possible manner to get the best desired results out of it. So that's what I would say that my learnings have been.
My God, it is these moments that I feel so blessed. Okay, that you're in the flow, and then suddenly a question pops up, and out of the blue, this was not a part of the questions that I had sent to you, and then you give a picture which I think for people like us, these are like gems, literally treasure troves, which we can listen to it over and over again, and there's some deeper insights of wisdom that we are going to experience just by listening to you. I think while you were sharing, these three references, it just clicked, and I think I would love, we'd love to end this segment with your thoughts on these segments, sir. The first is Earl Nightingale says that sales is a skill that compounds in terms of results, and it's the world's highest paying profession. So that's the first point. The second reference point is when Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, says that if you know how to sell and just serve people, solving a particular problem, what you're doing is you're not actually selling, you're making the world a better place through your products. That one little switch itself can help you ease yourself into the world of sales. And number three, you mentioned the perspective of experience failures from one of the, I think it was in Stanford College Address or Harvard, I'm not sure, but Denzel Washington, one of the legendary actors in this world, he was delivering an address, and the last thing he ended in that speech was, dear students, I want to say to you, fail big, fail fast, because that's when you learn the
Right.
most. And sales, obviously, like you mentioned, teaches you on this. So just keeping these 3 points in mind, I would love for you to just end this particular episode with your closing statements on the fact that we are all so hyped up and powered up. What are how does these 3 points help us to navigate by building our sales muscle? Yeah. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So for me, I see sales as something which gives you a power to give, right? Power to give something to your customers, basis which they can address the problems which in which they are actually uh, into that, and they're unable to come out of it, right? So that's the power of sales, that you can help your customers to really come out of that muddy waters which is there. They're struggling, that what would be the best way to come out of it. It's all about that. There is no clarity at either side, so how you can become better to better to engage with them, ask right questions, understand their problems, and probe as much as you can, so that you can really come to that core of the problem which is there. Because once you have the clarity, then solution will automatically come. Because I would say that most of us are just stuck in terms of to bring that clarity, because life is always very simple. We ourselves make it complex, right? So it's in the same way. There would be something which would be so that, as an art of probing, art of listening, all those we need to continuously improve on, and look on that what is that. And once you have that clarity, I'm sure that you would be in that situation where you can just figure it out, the solution. Because solution part is always such not a difficult piece, because if it's not there, it could be created. It could, people can come to support you. You can figure out different partners. You can partner with someone else to address that problem. So those things are much more deliverable, can be delivered easily. So that's what my thought would be, that think from that point of view. It's all about giving, and giving in terms of to solve the customer problem.
Imagine if the first episode itself is so amazing. What's in store? Big thank you once again, Devesh sir, for being with us. We are going to connect with you once again. So many more questions up in store, and it's going to be a blast. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Suryadeep. It has been such a wonderful time having with you in terms of the free flow discussion which we had. And in fact, I really admire you, that how a dentist has turned into a salesperson, right? That's a story. Probably sometimes the tables should get turned, where I would really love to understand your perspective, that what made you to move from being someone studied professionally for dentist, and then turned in terms of to become such a fabulous sales guy. So thank you so much for this opportunity.